So there are two reasons why we celebrate Lag BaOmer. One reason is in Shulchan Aruch. It's brought down as a halacha. It's in Shulchan Aruch, and everybody in the world, whether it's a chassid or non-chassid, Sephardic, Ashkenazic, everybody goes by this. And that is that being that these days between Pesach and Shavuos are tragic days, because the students of Rabbi Akiva passed away, and not just students, but we're talking about great sages, and we're talking about crazy numbers of 24,000 students. 24,000 students. However, on the day of Lag BaOmer, the plague stopped. And because of that, we celebrate this day. So that's the reason, Api Halacha, why this is considered a day to celebrate. The second reason is, and this is something which is more associated with people that are connected to Pnimius HaTorah, and that is Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai passed away on Lag BaOmer, and when he passed away, he made a request. And his request was that he wants them to celebrate his day like you celebrate a wedding. Even though that probably applied more to his students who were there in those days. But starting from the Arizal, who once again revived and brought out the hidden secrets of Torah, starting from the Arizal, the Arizal is the one who taught that we should have to celebrate this day. People should go to Miron, which is the place where Shimon Yochai is buried. And it was a very simchadik day. And right now, as you see, in Hasidic circles, in Sephardic circles, why these two? Because these are the two that are associated with Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, because they study Zohar and they study Kabbalah or Hasidus. Therefore, in these circles, this is a day that is a tremendous simcha. And it's based on what his request was. There's a lot that we can say about Lag BaOmer, about Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, about the Zohar. So I'll just try to fit in whatever I can. But let me start off by saying the following. The sheet that I gave out explains what is unique about Lag BaOmer. One of the things that are written in the Maimer of Rebbe Rashab, the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Rebbe Sichos, uses the term that Lag BaOmer is like Matan Torah of the hidden secrets of Torah. What does that mean? So first of all, it doesn't mean Chas v'Shalom that as if Hashem gave the Torah a second time. Hashem gave the Torah once. Of course, He gave it twice. Once on Shavuos, and the second time by the second set of the Luchas, which was on Yom Kippur. But when Hashem gave the Torah, that was it. Everything anything that any great sage will expound on and learn and derive from the Torah, even what will be once Mashiach comes, we'll be studying new things in Torah forever and ever and ever. It's all included in what was given to us by Har Sinai. On the other hand, there's still certain things which, even though the Torah was given, but until a certain point, they were never revealed in this world. So the hidden secrets of Torah, until the times of Shimon Bar Yochai, were withheld from really being brought down to this world. So if you look at the sheet, there's two sides to the sheet. One of them is from Chumash Bereshis, and it's a story with Yaakov and Lavan. Yaakov was being pursued by Lavan. He was chasing after him. They wanted to harm him. He had a dream. Hashem came to him and said, "Don't you dare." And because of that, of course, he stopped. He met up with Yaakov and he told him, "I had this dream, so I'm not going to do anything to you. Hashem warned me. But I want to make a partition, separate us. You can't come to my territory, and I won't go to your territory." How did they make the partition? So if you look at the pasuk in Chumash, it says they took a pile of stones and they piled up one on top of the other. It wasn't a wall. They didn't build a wall. They put a pile of stones, and they said these stones will be testimony. They'll be witness that this is something separating us. You're in this territory and I'm in this territory. I can't go to yours, you can't go to mine. And this pile of stones was called Gal Eid. Eid comes from the word witness, Eidim, and Gal means the pile of stones. Gal Eid. So if you see the word Gal, it's the same letters as Lag Baomer, which means that up until Lag Baomer, there was a Gal, there was a wall, a separation, partition that separated heaven from earth in terms of the hidden secrets of Torah. That wasn't yet revealed in the world. Again, we're not saying once the Torah was given, everything was there, but it was there in a way that's included. Just to give you some reference to what I'm saying is, remember the story also with the Arizal, but the story happened with Rabbi Yosef Cairo. Rabbi Yosef Cairo was the one who wrote the Shulchan Aruch. So we're talking about a tzaddik of such caliber that's beyond your ordinary tzaddik. And he was once struggling to understand something in Torah. And I don't know, it was a day or two or more that he struggled and struggled and struggled. And finally he got the answer. And he was very excited when he finally understood whatever it was. And then something happened which sort of which took the wind out of it. He went to shul and he heard someone asking someone else the same question. And that other person thought about it for a moment and gave him the answer that he worked on for a few days. And he was in total shock. How is it possible that I had to work on this for a few days and I struggled with it, and this person just thought about it for a moment and he had the answer? And of course, his reaction was, probably there's something wrong with me spiritually that was blocking me from getting the right answer. So I had to work so hard. So he went to the Arizal. They lived in the same city in Tzfas. He went to the Arizal and asked him what he can do to unblock whatever was blocking. And the Arizal said there was nothing blocking. And he explained what happened to something very different. He said, this insight that you worked on for so long was something which was never, ever revealed in the world before. You were the first one to bring this into this world. Once you brought it into this world, now it's accessible to everybody. So another person could think about it briefly and get it. And you had to work much harder. You know, like the analogy that's given, that if there's a wall blocking and nobody can go through, and everybody tried, this one rams into the wall, and this one does rams in the wall one way and another way, 10 people together, nobody can get it going. And one person comes along who has muscles, and he breaks the wall and walks right through. And guess what? After him, the next person walks through with ease. How's it possible? Everybody worked so hard, and he worked so hard, and you walk it, we're very patient. There's a hole now, and now everybody can walk through. So once the first person brings it down, so this is the same idea, but on a much larger scale. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was the first one to take away that partition that was blocking the hidden secrets of Torah from being revealed in this world. The other side of the page, you see something similar. And that is, it's a pasuk in Tehillim, chapter Kuf Yutes 119. And you know that chapter of Tehillim has 8, each letter of the alphabet has 8 psukim, which means every pasuk begins with the same letter of the alphabet 8 times. So the letter Gimel, the pasuk begins with the words Gal Einai V'Abita Neflois M'Terasecha, which means uncover my eyes, I'll see the wonders in your Torah. So this is the way it's explained. What is the wonders in your Torah? It means the hidden secrets of Torah. And Galena means we're asking Hashem to uncover my eyes, we can see those secrets. So again, the word Gal are the same letters as Lag Baomer, which means that this is the time where these hidden secrets became open. Hashem uncovered our eyes that we're able to see these secrets of Torah. So from this we come to understand what does it mean that Lag Baomer is like Matan Torah, the hidden secrets of Torah. What happened after the Reb Shimon Bar Yochai? After Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, it still wasn't really out there. He himself learned only with a limited group of people. We actually know their names because it's all mentioned in the Zohar, that when they would meet in their secret meetings, it was Reb Chia, Reb Abba, Reb Yosi, selected Talmidim, I'm not sure the exact number, very small number of Talmidim, and they were the only ones that were privy to hear the hidden secrets of Torah from Shimon Bar Yochai. The next time that there was another major turning point in revealing the hidden secrets of Torah was the Arizal. And it's a long time because Arizal lived 400 years ago, and Reb Shimon Bar Yochai lived 1800 years ago. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai is one of the sages of the Mishnah. And the next time after that was not the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov was a major point, but there were 3 generations between the Arizal and the Baal Shem Tov of people that they were the ones responsible to reveal more and more the teachings of Kabbalah. What were the names? Anybody know? 3 people.
What was the question?
Who were the 3 people after the Arizal that they were the ones responsible to reveal the secrets of Kabbalah in their generation? What? I didn't hear. That's before the Baal Shem Tov. They lived before. The Arizal lived 400 years ago. The Baal Shem Tov lived, 250, 300 years ago. So what happened in between? There were 3 great sages. One was called Rabbi Yoel Baal Shem. One was called Rabbi Yoel Baal Shem. And one was called Rabbi Adam Baal Shem. Each one was the one, they were students of each other. And Rabbi Adam Baal Shem, he's the one who preceded the Baal Shem Tov. And he gave all his things to the Baal Shem Tov. What?
They're all 3 in the same generation? Or it's like
No, different generation.
They're
right.
each other's
Successors.
Okay.
Yeah. And the place where you can find more details about this is in the memoirs of the Frierdiker Rebbe. That's where he describes a little bit of their lives, where they lived, and what went on. Rabbi Yoel Baal Shem actually is really a fascinating story about him. To make it brief, the Frierdiker Rebbe writes that there was a man that came from Spain at that time, so we're talking about many years ago. I guess this was after the time that Jews weren't allowed to be in Spain, so Spanish Jews roamed from one place to the next, and eventually this person settled in this city. And this man was single, he wasn't married, but everyone saw that he's all day long learning and davening. He was a big tzaddik, and he sort of lived secluded. No one had really many discussions with him. Just learned and davened and did his avodas Hashem all day long. In that city, there was a very wealthy merchant, and his daughter married also an incredible, beautiful young man who was very talented and very learned. Also, he had a very good way of speaking with both the father-in-law and the son-in-law had contacts with people in government, and they had a lot of influence. People would go to them to help them out, or they got into trouble with the authorities, if they needed a favor or something. It was all very good and wonderful, but unfortunately, one day there was a tragedy, and this young man, who was the son-in-law, he was driving from a business trip, and he was robbed by robbers that were on the way, and he was killed. Him and his assistant were both killed. So she was now a widow, but he had no children. So if you're keeping up with the Rambam, if a woman husband passes away, God forbid, and they left no children, then she's supposed to marry the brother. We don't do that in today's day and age. So instead of marrying, we do chalitza. Chalitza is like the concept of a get, but in a different format. So she had to go through chalitza. She had to do the chalitza. And in that community, they had this custom that when a woman went through chalitza, a very tragic period, all the kohanim in the city would line up on both sides, or one side if it's a woman, and she would walk by, and they would give her the bracha of the kohanim. And then the bezdin who performed this, the bezdin that was overseeing this, they would announce that if anyone has any suggestion who this woman could possibly marry and remarry, they should come to us, and we'll try the best we can to help her. That's what happened. Nobody came. And then one day, not long after, this man who was in his 50s and who lived this secluded life like some great tzaddik comes to the Bezdin, and he says to them that I haven't intended to get married, wasn't my intention, but because of whatever reason, I decided I will get married, and I'd like to arrange, if you could arrange that, to meet with this woman and marry her. Of course, it was a bit shocking. He's in his 50s, she was a young woman. But on the other hand, they knew that he's not an ordinary person. So obviously, they were going to respect his request. So they asked her to come. She comes to the Bezdin, and she walks in, and she just burst out crying, sobbing and sobbing. They waited till she calmed down, and they asked her what happened. So she said, there's something that I'm thinking for a while whether I should say it or not say it. And I can't make up my mind. What? I don't know if I should, if I shouldn't. And that's why she's sobbing. Something very emotional. So I guess if they would tell her that she must come out and say it, so they'll help her, she'll do that. And they made a little meeting amongst themselves and decided they'll tell us what it is and we'll help. So she said she had a dream from her father. Her father came and said, Mazel Tov. It was decreed in heaven that you should marry this and this tzaddik that lives in your city. So initially, when she had the dream, it was a dream. I mean, she was marrying the tzaddik, Mazel Tov. Didn't pay attention. But she had the dream a second time, and she had the dream a third time. And at a certain point, her father became stern with her and said, listen, this is a heavenly decree. Go ahead and follow up on it. Speak to the Bezdin. She started to feel that this looks like it's more real than just a dream, but she couldn't make up her mind. It was embarrassing. She's telling them she wants to marry this tzaddik. First of all, he's so much older. Second of all, he's this big tzaddik. But that's what she said. And then the Bezdin told her what happened with him, that he came to them. So it was clear that this was a heavenly thing. And they got married. And after a year, they had a son. And he named him Elio, named after Elio Hanavi. And this father studied Torah with him. He had no other teacher. Studied Torah with him day and night. And when the boy was about to turn bar mitzvah, the father told the wife that this is the way it is from Hashem's decrees. His life is going to be ending soon. But she should know that this boy has a special mission in this world. And he's going to be a beginning of a chain of great tzaddikim that have special mission. And this mission will continue up until Mashiach comes. He knows what he's supposed to do. He has his teachers, and she should let him do whatever he's planning to do because he's being guided by something higher and he knows what's supposed to happen. And sure enough, after his bar mitzvah, he told his mother that he wants to go travel and he'll be learning in some yeshiva. And she said right away, yes, because her husband prepared her for all this. I think it says there that she didn't see him for the next 40 years. Different world in those days. But anyway, she knew that this is some sort of more of a heavenly thing. And then when he did come back, he was already known as the famous Rabbi Baal Shem. Performed miracles, helped people that were sick, people that needed brachas. And he was the one who was responsible for publicizing Kabbalah in his generation. And then the next generation was Rabbi Baal Shem, and then Rabbi Adam Baal Shem, and then came the Baal Shem Tov. So one of the things that this helps us understand is you see that on Lag Baomer there's a tremendous emphasis specifically on children. And by the way, this is also not only here because we make a parade for children. It's a custom in all Jewish communities that on Lag Baomer, children go out into the field and they specifically play with bow and arrows. And the reason for the bow and arrow is because the Gemara says that when you see a rainbow, what does it mean?
Hashem forgives you, or you're doing something else.
And in essence, there should have been a flood now, because the world is so corrupt like it was then. But because Hashem took an oath that he's not going to do it, so therefore nothing's happening, and that's what the rainbow is. So actually seeing a rainbow, according to that, is not such a good sign. even those beautiful colors. What?
That's why you can't tell.
That's why you don't tell other people.
When you see rainbow, why do you make a bracha?
What?
Why do you make a bracha?
Why you make a bracha? Well, first of all, it could be we're just thanking Hashem that he remembers what his oath and he's not doing what he did in the generation of the Mabul. But before we finish, in case I forget, there's a secret with the Rebbe that now things are different. The rainbow is actually connected to Mashiach. Yes.
Hey, what's the answer?
Okay. Anyway, we'll get there soon. So the Gemara says that the rainbow didn't appear in his generation even once, which means he was such a great tzaddik that he was such a protection for his generation, and he brought his generation up to such a level that there wasn't a need for a rainbow as long as he was alive. So to represent that, the children play with bow and arrow. Yeah? Yeah, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. In Hebrew, it's the same word. The word for rainbow is keshes, and the word for bow and arrow is keshes. But it's actually a beautiful sikh from the Rebbe. I won't go into it now. But the Rebbe says it's not just the word or the letters, but actually the rainbow is very similar to a keshes, to a bow and arrow, which means the way a rainbow is produced is by the rays of the sun hitting off and reflecting off the clouds, and that's where all the colors come from. And that's why it looks like a bow, because it actually happens in the same way like an arrow is shot through a rainbow. We won't go into that either, we'll put that on the side. But what we do know is that it's the same Inyan, and therefore children play with bow and arrow. But the question is, children are very precious. The learning of children is very precious. To the extent that it says in Halacha, believe it or not, that Mashiach comes and we're building the Beis Hamikdash, everybody is welcome to come help. The only ones who they will still be busy working are those who teach children. They won't get off. So I once spoke about this. Someone said, yeah, well, I mean, you have so many people working on it, so there won't be a few people, teachers, that are not going to be part of the process, nothing's going to happen. But the Rebbe said, if nothing's going to happen, then you don't need the Torah to tell us that they don't stop teaching children. We don't need them anyway. Obviously, it means even if we would know that by them participating in building the Beis Hamikdash, it would happen sooner, you don't disrupt, you don't discontinue teaching children because it's so precious to Hashem, and you leave it up to others. Of course, the Rebbe once explained, because children's learning is so precious, that'll give more hatzlacha in those that are building it. So at the end, you gain more than you lose. So how is it that on Lag Baomer we actually close the yeshivas, close the cheder, and we take the children out to play if it's so precious to Hashem? And this is the custom, basically, the old Jewish communities. So clearly there's something very unique about the connection between Lag Baomer and children. And this is one of the ways the Rebbe explains it. There's a number of explanations. But one of them is that in reference to Shavuos, we find that children played a very important role. Because Hashem asked for a guarantor, right? You know that medrash. And the Yidden said, well, our Abbas will be guarantors. Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Hashem said, no, God enough. Our elders will be guarantors. Our prophets will be guarantors. Hashem didn't accept it. When he said our children will be guarantors, Hashem said, okay, that's what I'm looking for. And based on the fact that you'll give your children a Torah education, that guarantees that the Torah will last forever. And based on this, in fact, a number of years ago, the Rebbe came out with a call that people should bring children, even infants, to shul on Shavuos when they're reading the Aseret HaDibros. I remember when the Rebbe spoke about it, it was a few days before Shavuos, and that Shavuos, there were torrential rains like I've never seen before. Trying to stop everybody from going to shul. People came to shul wearing with garbage bags on their heads, carrying their little kids, I guess. Maybe there were infants that didn't come, but mostly everybody came with something very new. And the reason for that is because the whole Torah is given in the merit of children, so children have to be there to hear Aseret HaDibros. And being that Lag Baomer is also considered Matan Torah, of the hidden secrets of Torah, therefore, on Lag Baomer there's also an emphasis on education of children. This is one of the reasons. That's one point. Another point, which is talked about a lot by the Rebbe, is Simcha. Lag Baomer, as you see, is a very Simchatic day. So this part is really different. Those who just follow halacha, there's no real major Simcha Lag Baomer. They're just not sad. During the days of Sfira, it's sad days. You don't make weddings. You don't hear music. On Lag Baomer, you don't have those restrictions. But by Hasidim and Sfardim, it's actually a day of rejoicing and celebrating and dancing and singing, like Simchas Torah or something. So yes, it's based on what Rabbi Shimon requested. But just to bring out the importance of Simcha on that day, the Rebbe every year whenever he spoke about Lag Baomer, he would mention this story. And this is different than other stories. It's not a story that people just heard and you're wondering how true it is. This is a story which is brought down in the writings of the Arizal. And what's the story? That the Arizal had a student. His name was Rabbi Levi. And Rabbi Levi in the Arizal one year traveled to Miron. Came to Miron, and they came to celebrate Lag Baomer. And then unfortunately, the student had a tragedy. Two tragedies, unfortunately, that happened with his children. And of course, he was beside himself, like, what did he do to deserve such a thing? And Reb Shimon Bar Yochai told the Arizal to give over to this student that the reason why it happened was because he was mourning in the day of his simcha. What does that mean? This student had a very unique minig. There's a prayer that we say on Tisha B'Av called Nachem. It's a prayer that we all say this only once a year, and we say it even on Tisha B'Av. We say it only once in Tisha B'Av, not Ma'ariv, not Mincha, only in Shachris. And we insert it by the words of Yerushalayim Ircha, a whole bracha about Hashem should console us for the destruction of Beis Hamikdash. This student was so distraught about the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash that he would say it every single day, for Shachris, for Mincha, for Ma'ariv, on a daily basis. And why did he say it? Obviously, why was he more distraught than anyone else? So the Arizal said that the reason was because his neshama was a Gilgul, or part of the neshama of Yirmiyahu Hanavi. Yirmiyahu Hanavi was the one who lived through the destruction. He was there when all the things were happening. And therefore, to him, it wasn't something like us that we read in a book about. He sort of lived it. And therefore, he could not be consoled. And every single day, he would say this prayer. What happened was that he also said this prayer on Lag Baomer. And Lag Baomer is supposed to be Simcha. So Rabbi said that because he said this prayer on Lag Baomer, unfortunately, that was why this happened. And the Rebbe concluded from that, if this person said it every single day, that means he also said it on Rosh Chodesh. He also said it on Yontif, on Chol Hamoed, and nothing happened. Dafka, when he said it on this day, look what happened. So obviously, again, it doesn't mean Chas v'Shalom he did something terrible and it had to be a punishment. It obviously means that because he did something to disrupt the simcha, he was lacking a certain protection, and then whatever happened, happened. But the whole thing is really strange. Why such a simcha? Yeah.
How old was he when this happened? Did it happen 9 years and then 1 year? Like,
How old was the person? It doesn't say.
if he did it every year, but then just 1 month over.
It seems it was just that, like Baomer, that he went to Miron. In my mind, I was thinking maybe what happened here was the fact that he did it in Miron, which means you're in the presence of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and you're desecrating the day. But I don't know, it doesn't say that anywhere in the Sikha, so I'm not going to make my own things. But that could be a possibility. There's a big difference when you do something in the presence or you do something someplace else. So the truth is, the whole idea of the Simcha is really shocking. It's a day that someone passed away. I still remember once there was a parade here, we were Bachram and we traveled to other neighborhoods to bring children that wanted to come to the parade. And I came from, I don't know where it was, but I went there, a group of kids waiting at a street corner. I took a taxi and I brought them here to the parade. And as we're driving in, the driver wasn't Jewish, sees clowns and all this going on. And he says, "Oh, wow, what's going on today? What happened?" So one of the kids say, "A very big rabbi died today." I saw his eyes pop like that. That's why there's clowns and music. So I said, "Oh, first of all, it happened 2,000 years ago. It didn't happen today. Today, 2,000 years ago. But what's Taka the Pshat? On the contrary, a day of passing is a sad day. Yes, he requested it, but that itself is a question. Why would he request such a thing? So the way it appears from the Sikhs is that basically Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, because he's the one revealing the hidden secrets of Torah, and that's what's going to be revealed when Mashiach comes. What it means is that he, 1,800 years ago, was already where we're all going to be once Mashiach comes. He was in the Mashiach world already then. What's going to happen when Mashiach comes to Tisha B'Av? How can it be a Yontif if it's such a terrible day? So the answer is, outwardly, it looks like what it looks like, but the previous, it's really, this held the key to a bracha, the bracha of Geula, like everything else, that even though outwardly it looks like it's something negative, but deep inside, it's really something positive. So that means that a day that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, and the day that so many people, Rahman al-Islam, lost their lives, on that day, and happened twice, the first Beis Hamikdash, the second Beis Hamikdash, that day is going to turn to a yontif. We'll be dancing and singing and celebrating. How could that possibly be? The answer is because when Mashiach comes, the hidden element of it will come out in the open, and we'll see the great bracha that was there. And in fact, it's not only that it won't be a day of sadness, but it'll be a day of simcha, because obviously there's a bracha in that day. And the general rule is, like I'll get to in a second, if everything that happens is really a bracha in disguise, which means if I lose $10, it's really a bracha. But you know how big the bracha is? It's in proportion to $10. If a person loses $100, there's a bigger bracha there. If a person, Chas V'Shalom, loses something bigger and more valuable, there's even a bigger bracha hidden there. So if this was such a tragic thing, destruction of Beis Hamikdash and everything that goes along with it, it's like so sad that the bracha that's hidden in this is also beyond everything else. And that's why it's going to be even a bigger yontif than other Yom Tovim. So Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was in that world already, in that realm, he was in that planet. Therefore, to him, this is a day of simcha. And the fact that he instructed us to be happy on that day means that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai wanted us to sort of live Mashiach on the day of Lag Baomer. And of course, it's not just so we should have a good time. It probably means, like everything else, that by us living with the spirit of Mashiach on that day, it'll hasten Mashiach's coming in reality. So I guess if a person did something which is the opposite in the presence of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai on that day, they interfered with what he was trying to do to bring the atmosphere and the spirit of Mashiach into the world where we know it now. Yeah, what do you want to say?
Why don't we just I guess maybe you kind of answered it, but I feel like we would just celebrate everything that's bad then.
Because now we're still in Gullus.
Right. So why? Oh, you're saying because
he was from the future, in a sense. The truth is, everything like that, if we would see now the outcome of certain things which are happening now, we'd also be excited, because that's what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. It says we'll actually thank Hashem for all those things that happened. Yeah. I can understand it won't be said, but what do you mean thanking him? We'll see then how the good that came out of it is so amazing that we will feel it was worth to go through whatever we went through, even though now it's inconceivable to us. We can't understand it, no way. Remember the Rebbe once spoke about this a long time. The Rebbe was crying throughout the whole Sikha. Every sentence was hard for him to speak. And he asked this question, why did Hashem make it that we should not be able to understand? Why being that this is, why couldn't we a little bit understand how it's worth it to go through this pain in order to get the good that's going to come later? we can't really comprehend it fully. And the Rebbe said it appears to be the only reason he could see is that if we would have that, we wouldn't be demanding Geula the way we should, because we see the good in it. And Hashem wants us to demand Mashiach. Which is, imagine if somebody would say to you, and this would be 100%, clear and 100% sure without any doubt. If you give me $1,000, I'm going to invest it in a certain business. Within 30 days, you'll get back from this $1,000, you'll get back $100,000, $1 million. So when you give the person away the $1,000, are you sad? Or you're excited that you could be one of those people that he's taking money from you? If it's a real deal, not a chas v'shalom scam. In other words, I'm losing money, but I don't even look at it like losing. It's so clear to me that I will have $1 million in 30 days that I'm actually excited. I already see the $1 million. I'm already building my palace. I'm already planning my vacation and everything else that goes along with it. So if we would see now the good that's going to be when Mashiach comes from what went wrong now, I wouldn't doubt it so hard that this thing should be stopped. And we're supposed to do that now. Now we're supposed to do it. Okay, I think we'll stop here. Maybe there's some more things which we'll bring up on Monday, but at least we didn't have to just waste our time. Okay.